ready to go.
All right. Should go green any second now.
Okay.
Any countdown? You guys look great.
Does he know he's going to this camera?
This one is mainly on camera. Well, when Megan turns, you know.
Oh, it's the cameras there.
Yeah. Close ups on everybody.
Let's keep that one on
You
10.
can keep it two-shot. Well, if Megan says something, why don't you pan over to Megan? Yeah. Okay. And what I'll do here is if, I got a nice.
Stop. And when you
I can't see you, Eric, if you're over there. You've got to come over here. Good to go. Well, hello. Welcome to the backstory. We're coming to you live from the Longmont Public Media Studios in beautiful downtown Longmont. I'm Tim Waters, and as a volunteer for Longmont Public Media, I get the privilege of hosting this show, which gives me a chance to bring stories to Longmonters with more detail than you might get from reading in your local news sources. And tonight, a very current, interesting, and relevant story, especially if you've been following your local news stories, is the backstory on Longmont Public Media. And I have the good fortune of welcoming a panel of experts, the people who know more about this story, about Longmont Public Media's history and future than anybody in town, right? This is Longmont Public Media's A-team. Sergio Angelis is executive director.
Yep.
And has played many roles. He'll have a chance to talk about all those roles at Longmont Public Media. Ryan Forbes has been recently joined this team in charge of marketing. And Megan Lowry, who as far as I know makes everything work here at Longmont Public Media. When there's a problem, people call Megan. So to get this started, first of all, thanks to the three of you for giving me an hour or however long we go with your time tonight. I think we'll fill an hour. But more importantly, thanks for what you do every day and the kind of community you're building here at Longmont Public Media. On display the other night, which you may have a chance to talk about.
Right.
But the creativity and the diversity and the equity that I see and the inclusion that I see in the community you're building is something that Longmont should be very proud of, and you're responsible for that. So get us started with just talking about you, right? I have a question here about what attracts you to LPM.
Sure.
I want to save that for a minute. Just tell us who you are. What were you doing before you got started with LPM, and then we'll talk about what attracts you to Longmont Public Media.
Sure.
Why don't you kick it off?
I'll go ahead and start. Yeah, well, first I just want to say, thank you, Tim, for having this panel and this show, and that's what Longmont Public Media is all about, so thank you. A little bit about myself. I'm Sergio Angelis. I'm the executive director and co-founder. I'm originally from Santa Barbara, California. I moved to Gun Barrel when I was 6. My dad actually worked at Mac Store in Longmont way back when, so I've seen, everything change in Longmont. When I moved back to Longmont after college in 2016, I wanted to start a startup. I had started a travel startup, which ultimately failed, and then met Scott Converse, who's the founder of Tinkermill, and we co-founded then the Longmont Observer, which was a nonprofit media company. I did also work for Longmont Economic Development Partnerships. I did entrepreneurial economic development for the city, and then eventually did this. On my free time, I like to go hiking and travel around and just enjoy what Colorado has to offer.
Well, and so anybody who knows Sergio is one of our young, on-the-rise professionals that's done a variety of things in Longmont, continues to find ways to make a difference, a contribution to the community. So good on you. Ryan, tell us about you.
All right, my name's Ryan Forbes, and I started off working in computer science. I worked in the public and private sector, working on communication software and ski software for companies out here and things like that. I eventually moved down to Texas, and I actually started struggling and had with a drinking problem and ended up in prison down in Texas. And while I was locked up, I got a degree in social welfare, and then when I got out, I started working in marketing, and I also started working on my own business, working in comics, and also came here to LPM to work on a podcast about the criminal justice system. And that's where I met Sergio and Megan, and then they were looking for someone to promote LPM, and I was already telling people about LPM all the time, so that's how I got involved.
Just can I offer two observations?
Yes.
One, everybody loves a redemption story, and everybody deserves a second chance. So good on you for taking advantage of the opportunity. Megan, tell us about you.
So my background is mainly in video production. I graduated from Temple University in Philadelphia and moved here about a year and a half ago now. Before this, I was working at a law firm, so going from Pennsylvania and working in law to working at a makerspace in Colorado has been a huge shift in my life, but it's been really good getting to know the people in this area and feeling more involved in the community.
From working in law firms or in law school, what did you say?
Oh, I worked at a law firm.
Law firm.
I originally was going to school for law for a semester, and then I
Gotcha.
said this is
All right.
not for me.
No, this is a whole different experience.
Yeah.
But Longmont is lucky because you two came home, right, from Texas and from Philadelphia to Longmont as your home. Sergio, Longmont Public Media has not been around a long time, right? A relatively short history, but developing a pretty significant, substantial profile in Longmont. If anybody's been paying attention recently, they've seen that profile develop and who's become part of this community. Share with us kind of the brief history, the origins of LPM, right? Because there's a story there, and how did you, in particular, get connected with this endeavor?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. So I think I was mentioning earlier, so myself and Scott Converse and Macy May started what was called the Longmont Observer in 2017. And that was a nonprofit Longmont news website, kind of a makerspace of news, so to speak. And it was kind of a result of just being frustrated with the lack of local news in Longmont, and just wanting to know what's going on in our backyard, and just being kind of frustrated with the dying local news ecosystem and all those challenges there. So we created the Longmont Observer in response to that. We started in Tinkermill. We started gathering volunteers, so we all learned about how to write news, how to produce news, how to distribute the news. And one of the things that we did first was we live streamed Longmont City Council meetings. We were the only ones, and this was 2017, to live stream to Facebook and YouTube. So we showed up for 3 years every Tuesday because the city wasn't doing it. And then the Longmont Cable Trust was also not doing it. So that's really when we started, delving more into live streaming and media technology. And in 2019, the city of Longmont put out an RFP to effectively run Longmont's public access station. So the Longmont Observer put in a bid for that. And our concept as a way to kind of revolutionize public access was to create a media makerspace, this facility full of TV studios, live streaming rooms, people to come together, create media, learn about how to create media, and then distribute it. And that was our pitch. And at the time, it was also tied together with the Longmont Observer of you have news and information, and it'd just be a really important factor in a local news and information ecosystem. So we pitched the idea and we won, to our surprise. And then
That would be surprise and amazement put together in surprisement.
surprise.
There you go.
That's a new word. There you go. Yeah. So and then we started. We changed our name from Longmont Observer to Longmont Public Media. Changed our mission. Changed our vision. Still a 501c3 nonprofit. All of our information is online for people to find out. And obviously then the pandemic hit 3 months later, which I would say it was both maybe good and bad for us, since we were, already pretty familiar with live streaming technologies
And everything went online. We were kind of at a good position to teach people how to kind of transform your business into a digital business. Of course, the physical aspect of makerspace doesn't work in a pandemic.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the good and bad, and the short history of.
I want to come back and talk more about makerspaces.
Sure.
This one, your kind of sister or brother, I'm not certain how you
Yeah,
think about the
yeah.
other makerspace in town, Tinkermill. But the whole phenomena of makerspaces and kind of the origins and what we see today and why this is so important to communities. I want to come back to that.
Okay.
But I want to hear these two as well, right? Let me just say one more thing for anybody who's watching this. I know you won a contract at a time with a pretty ambitious portfolio of work that you proposed that was going to also capture a lot of community events, as
Correct.
well as creating opportunities for content creators to do their work. And the pandemic shut all that down.
Yeah.
So much of what you were proposing and preparing to share with the community simply stopped.
Correct.
So it's been a challenge to have the kind of content that's relevant, interesting to locals to stream off your platforms or run over Channel 8. So I know that's been
Yeah,
a real challenge,
yeah.
and we'll talk more about
Sure,
how you've
yeah.
responded to it. So what attracted each of you, right? You have these interesting other backgrounds. Why Longmont Public Media?
Do you want to go first?
Sure. So what attracted me is, well, first, like I said, I was working on my podcast here, and that's what initially got me in the door. And someone else actually needed help with their recording, and they showed me, they gave me a tour, and I saw the podcast studio, and I needed a place to work, and I was like, this is great. But the big thing that I really like about this, and the reason I wanted to market it and promote it, is because it gives everyone a voice. And I feel like that's an incredibly important part of the community. Like, for me to be able to tell my story and to share it with other people, I think it's incredibly valuable for each individual part of the community. And the fact that it's accessible to anyone, doesn't matter how much money you have or what race you are or what your identity is, it's available to everyone. And the fact that that's what this public media gives to everyone, and we try to make it available to as big of an audience as possible. That's what I like about it, and that's why I enjoy being here and work hard to promote it.
Megan, I'm going to come back and maybe summarize a little bit, but I want to hear from Megan.
Sure. So I had a very pivotal moment in college that set me on a path to working at places that empower other people. I took a sports production class, and our last assignment was to make a video about some activity that partnered with a 501c3. And I had tunnel vision at the time that I was doing it. I was just finding the quickest sports activity that I could to get the assignment done. And when we went to film at the soup kitchen where the people were partnering with, I realized that it was one town over from my hometown. And I actually saw people there who I went to school with.
Who were benefiting from
Yes,
the
yes.
service. Yeah.
So that really opened my eyes to what I need to be doing with the skills that I was learning. And then fast forward a year after that, I was looking to move to Colorado. I came across a job posting for Longmont Public Media, and just the fact that the mission of empowerment just aligned so much with my goals, it was just fortuitous timing.
So here's what I hear: mission, empowerment, voice, agency, relevance, community. Yeah, those are pretty powerful attractors that it would attract young ones like you to this community to do this work with another on-the-rise professional. It's pretty encouraging to old-timers like me, so that's good to hear. Now, Longmont Public Media starts with an understanding of public access television, what that is, what it means, where it comes from, what the potential is, what the constraints or limits are. Now let's just kind of open up free for all.
Yeah.
Give us a history of Longmont, or not of public access television. What does that mean? Why should anybody care about it?
Sure.
Why should residents care that the Longmont, city of Longmont, invests now in public access television and creating this makerspace and this opportunity?
Yeah, I'll start. I'll start off by giving a little bit of the brief history as I know there's a lot of history around public access in general, but so public access television started late 1960s, early 1970s, and that came as a result of cable companies building out infrastructure to provide cable, but obviously needing the access and the infrastructure needed to develop it. So they made these deals with cities across the United States to have a right-of-way, and as part of that, the cable channels gave the local cities 3 public access channels, or 3, they call it PEG. So P is for public access, E is education, G is government. And then what happened was I think you saw kind of what happened now. You saw a lot of people started to create their own content. Obviously it went in a lot of wild directions. And then of course over time, let me take a step back. The purpose of public access then was also empowerment. It was about having a non-commercial distribution channel of free speech. It was to empower individuals to come in, create whatever they wanted to, and then distribute it to their local communities. I think, of course, over time, as cable started to fade and die, public access stations weren't improving their technology. They were just becoming stale. While, YouTube and other platforms kind of came to rise, and then at the same time, funding for public access started to die, as that is primarily from cable franchise fees or for
a generation ago.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. So it's all about like how many cable subscribers are in a city, and then that translates into franchise fees, and that's how public access gets funded. So so like it kind of just came at a right time where we said, hey, media now is more important than it's ever been, obviously with fake news and just the lack of media literacy, which I think is something that the pandemic truly brought to life, was just like how across the US we've all been struggling with just media in general. Like a lot of individuals don't understand it, don't know how it works, or how to use it or leverage it. So I think that's the power of public access in a futuristic way that we call public access 2.0 of let's create a space that we have here to empower individuals to learn about media, to create it and then distribute it across all forms, right? It's mobile, it's iPads, it's live streaming, it's gaming, it's photography, it's augmented reality and virtual reality, which is coming up soon. And just all these technologies that people need to know about so that they can, use them or at least be educated about.
So the first generation public access, cable television, right, which everybody was waiting to get into their neighborhoods.
Yeah.
They had to pay for the right-of-way, and
Correct.
that payment for the right-of-way became a way to fund public access television and to enfranchise, literally, through franchise fees, a whole community.
Yeah.
Inviting the creative talents and the relationships and the understanding of what's going on in the community. Today, to this multifaceted, multidimensional environment that is less about cable television and more about streaming and all of that, and all that goes with that off of multiple platforms. So what should Longmonters who are paying attention to this or will watch it at some point in time, if you're watching tonight, if LPM is an opportunity, or public access television is an opportunity for them, talk about what those opportunities are. What do you want Longmonters to know about what they could do here? And then we'll talk more about maker spaces more generally, but just specifically about LPM.
If we're talking about for the public access side of things, it's the only place where you're going to learn about what's happening locally in Longmont.
Can I say one thing, Ryan?
Yes.
I'm going to blow my nose.
Okay.
We're on live television.
Okay.
We don't have any commercials.
No commercial.
You're right.
In other live television, somebody waits till the commercial to blow their nose because they've got a hot
That's
mic
true.
and stuff.
Right.
I can't do that, Megan.
No.
So go ahead, but I just
Guys?
want to apologize for whoever might be watching this.
I'll let
how
you
this works.
Yes, I'll let you blow your nose and then I'll
No, you go ahead.
Okay, all right.
Talk over the top.
Okay, so basically you can find out what's actually going on. So you can actually catch up on the local government meetings, which honestly local government is the biggest impacting
government in all of our lives. So if you want to actually find out what's going on in housing or city council, like that's the things that are actually affecting the roads and streets, the buildings, the everything, like the golf course, like all these things that are actually in our lives right now, you would have to find out from public media. That's from us. And then on top of that, like we, not just like if you're, if that's boring or whatever, there's also like actual events that we have like going on that are happening right here that you can come, like we have this interview going on right here, right now, that you can come be a part of, ask questions, you can talk to a city councilman right here. And
I'm a volunteer for Longmont Public Media around this table, so, but yes.
Yeah, and but you can, there are people here that you can actually interact with, but we also have like regularly on, like you can watch on the channel and interact with online, either events at the museum or events that are going on here at the studio. We just had a crazy talent show where there's all sorts of, like there's people from all over Colorado came in and showed off their stuff, and you couldn't see that, you're not gonna see that on other cable channels. And then on top of it, you can come in and see like what your actual community looks like, and all because this space is here, and because other people like volunteers like Tim or people who we work with in the community, like our contractors at like Mesa Creative Solutions, who helped like get axe throwers and stuff outside, which also you're not going to see outside City Hall very often. So like things like that. So yeah, it's you're not going to see that. Like that's public media. I feel like at its finest is bring it together physically. If you can't come together physically or you missed it, you can find it online, and then on top of it, like you see what's going on.
Great, Megan, what do you want to add to that?
To add to that, I think we're changing the whole definition of public access. When I was younger, I would watch it to see if I was getting a snow day. That's the only reason that I needed public access TV.
As a former school superintendent, I know that how many of young women just like you and their teachers were waiting to,
Yeah, exactly. But here you can see your neighbor on TV, and maybe that might inspire you to come in and learn something. We're making public access educational in a way that's creative, and really, like Ryan was saying, bringing your community together. And I think it's really cool to see people that you actually know on TV.
My granddaughters sometimes enjoy watching me on television, but I don't know about anybody else. My granddaughters do. So it's a chance to be here. We're live tonight. It's a chance to be here in a live audience if people wanted to do that. Before we're finished tonight, I'll talk about some other shows we're doing in October where there are opportunities to be part of a live audience. They can come and create, but they also have a chance to stay in touch with their communities. It's a rich menu, right, that's available right now that people could stream off the Longmont Public Media website or to your station, your channel on YouTube.
Right.
So that's part of the opportunity. Let's talk a little bit more about the creation, right? I don't know that public access television would be, if it's the proper frame it as like the Wild West. But it's not controlled by the FCC.
Correct.
Right? So you don't have the same constraints. You don't have opportunities to cut something off when somebody has to blow their nose, or to bleep them out when they say something that some might find offensive.
Yeah.
So talk about what those parameters are.
Sure.
If you're a creator, content creator, or if you're a consumer, what should people know about the parameters and the controls and who makes those decisions, and how far does empowerment go, right. In this environment?
Yeah, so you're right. Yeah, FCC doesn't control our station per se. What controls our station are our community guidelines. So it's what we as a community want those to be. I think we've taken a stab at that. So obviously you'll never find pornography, you'll never find gratuitous violence. You'll maybe have some profanity, but not to an obscene amount. And that's
Coin a phrase.
an obscene, yeah. But that's really it. Those are the parameters of you can't create that here, nor will we distribute that content. And that is based off of a recent Supreme Court ruling that public access stations can in fact control what they distribute. Again, we try to keep the parameters open as possible. We do want to empower everyone to create really anything they want to. You're limited by your creativity, but within those definitions and constructs and community guidelines that we have, just to be safe here. Yeah.
So we'll talk more about membership in just a bit.
Yeah.
But I'm one of those who has taken advantage of this opportunity. I get a chance to host programs like
Right.
this. For me, I said earlier, it's a privilege. It really is. I get a chance to interview. When do I ever get a chance to interview the three of you? Ever again? Probably never. And in the context of the Backstory and other programs I've done for Longmont Public Media as a volunteer, that's always top of mind for me. How cool is this? I get a chance to be in a conversation with this group of people about this topic at this time. Something that's relevant and I think interesting, whether anybody else does. And I just think people who would like to do that ought to pay attention to the opportunity. It's right here, right now, to do that.
Yeah.
I've also enjoyed, I've enjoyed more, some, and others less, but I've watched programming on Longmont Public Media that some people might get disturbed by because of language or whatever. Talk a bit about how do you work that in, right? How do you honor, right, the invitation, and then make the programming available at a time when it might not offend young kids or parents with young children, et cetera?
Yeah, so we do allow public submission. So anyone in Longmont can submit content to distribute on our public access channels. We do ask you about what if there's obscene language, that sort of thing, and then we do broadcast some of that more maybe disturbing content. Although I would just say maybe more PG-13. Between 10 p.m. and like 3 a.m. And then if we do decide, to show anything that may have some language, before that we do have, some graphics that we just throw up and say, hey, you might find some disturbing language on here, just in case your kids don't want to watch it or anything like that. So we do try to put some guidelines there and just kind of protect viewers in case they don't want to be watching some of that.
So before we talk about makerspaces, anything else you two want to share about the opportunity, not just to watch your neighbor, but to be the face that somebody's watching, or to be behind the scenes and enabling others to have voice and agency? Because there are people here tonight as volunteers who are making it. Wouldn't happen without a team of volunteers making this happen. Talk a little bit about what those opportunities are.
I think that people don't realize how much power they have by getting in front of a camera and speaking about their story. That's something that we love to do here, is empower people who are often ignored in society or don't get the opportunity to speak up about certain things. And I think that if more people, shared their stories, we would only be richer for that.
And this is a chance to do that, a place to bring it to life,
Absolutely.
to have a platform. And you want to share that?
Yeah, I would say actually when I was, like everyone knows, like the courtroom dramas like Law and Order and everything, and those don't happen in real life at all. But like when I was dealing with my charges, I talked to someone who actually worked for 60 Minutes, and they talked about how the importance of actually of video and how much importance it plays of like taking a video and getting it done so that you can present yourself. And that was just to a judge or into a courtroom in one scenario. This would be going out. You can put this on YouTube, on cable channels, and you can put it on repeat and spread it to whoever you want to, whatever you make here. And not only do you get to take whatever message that you're making and putting out and frame it the way you need to and cut to the highlights, you learn that skill. And it's not everyone. A lot of times it gets overwhelming. Like, I don't want to learn to do that. I want to hire someone to do that. But honestly, once you learn it, it's yours now. Now you can take ownership, and there's a lot of power in that, in being able to do it yourself. And then you can do it here, and you can do it everywhere.
So let's spend a little bit more time on this. We'll spend more time on this than I thought we would, because I should have added a question to my list about classes, knowledge and skill sets that people have a chance to develop. Somebody who might listen to this, to both of what you two just had to say, and says to themselves, how do I acquire, how do I own that knowledge and skill set? How do I develop that competency that I could create my own video that my grandkids could watch or whomever is going to watch? What's available here, and how do people get involved? We'll talk about membership in a minute, but just talk about, before we get to members, talk about the kind of the technical aspects of this, the technical assistance this year, the equipment this year.
Yeah, so anyone can come in Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, absolutely for free. And you know, we have a wide range of equipment, anything from maybe, you know, very consumer friendly to maybe more prosumer level, and anything kind of in between. And our goal and our job, right, is to teach people about, teach our community about how you can use that. So we have classes on like video production, studio setup, how to make this look good. You know, who's Bob Brzezinski, who's behind the camera right now and waving.
And is an expert at lighting.
And is an expert in lighting.
I know.
You know,
Thank you, Bob.
You know, comes and helps other members, and also teaches other members how to do that. Or you know, Eric, who you know wants to learn about podcasting, and then who's also behind the camera. And you know, we just started doing a podcast together, and so you know, it's just a family and a community of just teaching other people and, you know, knowledge, how to use it, which, you know, goes back to what Megan was saying of just empowering individuals to create and just lowering the barrier to entry. I think that's really key, is just lowering that barrier so anyone can use it and make it as accessible as possible.
You don't have to walk through the door as an expert.
No.
You get to walk through the door as a neophyte and learn your way forward with lots of
Exactly.
assistance.
Right.
That's pretty cool. So this is a makerspace. This is one of 2 makerspaces in Longmont. So who would like to talk about kind of, is there a short history of makerspaces? Where has this come from? Why should anybody care? And talk about this as a makerspace, and to the degree that you can share about Tinkermill, which are one of our other makerspace in Longmont. Who wants to pick that up?
I feel like Sergio's still the best
Yes,
person to answer that.
I can pick it up.
Same.
So Tim, as you mentioned, there's we're one of 2 makerspaces here. So Tinkermill is our, I guess, our other sister makerspace. They're the first ones in Longmont, started in 2013, and that's more of a, I would say, maybe a physical makerspace. So you have welding shops, you have laser cutters, pottery, glass blowing, jewelry shop, electronics, 3D printing, a wood shop, just a whole variety of, you know, other tools and stuff, right, that normally you'd have to invest a lot of money just to have. So Scott Converse, who founded Tinkermill, is my co-founder here. But what a makerspace is you have a space, you bring in tools and equipment, and then you bring in people. And then the concept is all that gets mashed together, and you have creativity, you have empowerment, you have knowledge, you have economic development. And I think what has happened is a lot of economic development organizations have viewed makerspaces as a way to incubate, you know, new startups within cities, and again, lower the barrier to entry for people that want to make something physically. So what we're just the media equivalent of that. Obviously, anything we do here, you can take over to Tinkermill. You can record, you know, your business. You can make a video about your product, or you can film a class over there, right? So they go hand in hand, and I mean, you've seen just a lot of more makerspaces just pop up really anywhere or everywhere across the U.S. and I think maybe even outside of the U.S. as well.
Do you know how many makerspaces?
I don't know.
I heard it from Scott, that Tinkermill is maybe the largest makerspace in the west of the Mississippi.
That's correct. Yeah.
I'll just say to Longmonters who are watching tonight or might be watching this as a recording, if you haven't taken a visit, if you haven't gone to Tinkermill and visited Tinkermill, you ought to give yourself the opportunity to do that, because it is very impressive.
Yeah.
The expanse and the variety and the resources, and how well that place is resourced for people to do the kind of things they want to do. And the synergy between the two, between LPM and Tinkermill, is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Why would any resident want to take advantage of the makerspace here? We talked about voice, we talked about agency. Are there any other aspects to that to become, because we're going to talk about membership in just a second here.
I mean, I'll say community. I mean, I think you know, as both Ryan and Megan have said, I mean, our mission has just been, you know, empowerment of everyone and making this accessible to everyone. And I think what has come of that was that we have a community here that I think represents Longmont. That, you know, we all care about media, we all love media, all types of different media, and we can learn from each other. We can, you know, learn about maybe just not other stuff about, you know, media, just about life and whatever you want, right? I mean, it's a place where we're bringing people together. It's a social plaza. You're meshing, you know, different ideas together, and you're just having creative output and just a stronger culture in Longmont that I think is important to realize.
So when and how do you bring whether you're a member or not, bring participants in the makerspace? When and how do you bring them together?
Yeah, I mean, this is a prime example of, you know, everyone here is a volunteer for the show. None of us get paid. You know, we all do this because we care about this. We care about the content that's being produced, and we also want to learn about it. So, you know, we have frequent shows where people can come in, just help another member out, or, you know, you can come into a concert and learn about how we set something up, and then we'll teach you on the fly. Or maybe you want to be a part of another show. So, you know, we try to encourage, you know, neighbors helping neighbors, because that's really what drives this whole thing. It's the people and the community that we have here. It's not us, it's everyone else.
So there is an event that occurs here on Wednesday nights? What happens on Wednesday nights?
Thursday nights.
All right, so Wednesday nights we have member meetings, and then on Thursday nights we
member meetings is what I was after.
Yeah. Thursday nights we have a different event every week where we try and bring the community together as well. Where,
Example of those?
yeah, so this week we actually have a game night, so we're gonna actually put up our big screen and put a hook and play, like, have video game tournaments here, and we'll bring in some board games, and the axe throwers want to come back for more. So so that will be, so that's one example. We're also, for October, we have trivia nights. We'll have a trivia night. We'll have a haunted selfie museum. So we'll set this room up like with different exhibits, and people can take pictures in front of them. And yeah.
On Halloween night, October 31st, I'm scheduled to interview a team from Annie and Millie's place. So we may or may not want to be in costume. But save us a little space so we can share that story, because that's a powerful story with the community. So that's an advanced organizer. So Thursday nights it's a time to come and have fun and meet people. What happens on Wednesday nights?
On Wednesday night, yeah.
Give Megan a chance.
So to go back to what Sergio was saying about community, our member meetings happen every Wednesday night, at 7 p.m. And it's a really great space where we're able to facilitate members coming together and helping each other with projects. We have a whole section of the meeting where we're asking people what they're working on and what they might need help with. And more likely than not, other people are going to jump onto your project and volunteer, which is great.
And does somebody have to already be a member to come on Wednesday nights? So they can come and learn about what it means to be a member.
Yes.
So now let's talk about membership.
Sure.
What does that mean, and why should anybody want to be a member of Longmont Public Media?
Yeah. So memberships. So as I mentioned earlier, it's free to start. Anyone can come in Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and use our space. We teach you how to use the equipment, and, you know, just how to use the space in general. Memberships then jump up to $25 a year, and what that allows you to do, you can reserve this space for your own use. That way it's dedicated to whatever you want to create. And then our model changes, so then we go to $25 a month, and then people get 24/7 access, and 50% off equipment rentals. At $50 a month, you get 24/7 access, free equipment rentals, and then half off classes. And then we have a production team, so up to 3 people for $75, and then corporations for $100 a month. And you get all the same stuff, plus you get to promote your business on LPM. So what those membership dues help do is help encourage the longevity of this place. Despite, we do get funding from the city of Longmont that will eventually dry up because less and less people are subscribing to cable. So we need a way to keep this place alive. And one of our revenue sources is membership revenue.
So if you want to be a member,
Yep.
doesn't cost anything if you want to be a member for nothing.
Correct.
You just have more limited access, or
Sure.
there are maybe costs associated with the access you have.
Yep.
Or for different levels of membership, you get more access.
Correct.
As in full disclosure, I was a founding member, and I continue to be a member, which means that I get to volunteer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I suppose I could volunteer without being a member, but I'm a member who volunteers. I want to go back to that part about everybody volunteers.
Yeah.
How much do I get paid for these?
Nothing.
Oh, nothing.
Nothing.
That's why I've never been paid.
No
How
one
much-
gets
how
paid.
much- oh, no one gets
Volunteers
paid.
don't get paid. We do have obviously contractors when we need, some
Sure.
help to get some
Well, we have
projects
staff.
on.
This
and
wouldn't
staff.
work if we were
right.
not staff.
Yes, we have a staff, full-time staff. Well, actually three full-time, one part-time now. But yeah, no, volunteers come in. They don't get paid. It's all just love, right? We all like and help each other out to make these shows happen.
I think I don't want it to be lost that volunteers, whatever the perceptions may be somewhere,
Sure.
volunteers do this because they want to be contributors as well.
Correct.
Both to the community and to the storytelling, or to voice and agency. A chance to share the stories that I get a chance to share
Yeah.
about the backstory is for me a privilege, but it's also an attempt to bring some of that to life for the community in ways that they wouldn't read about in
Right.
whatever the local news source is that
Yeah.
they're utilizing. But it's all a coalition or a community of the willing. Nobody expects to be compensated. And I
Correct.
just think that's something important
Yeah.
for people to understand. You've learned a lot about what it means to be a contractor with the city. You're 2 years into this.
Correct.
I'm certain there are both highlights and lowlights. I'm not concerned about the lowlights. Talk about the highlights of what you've learned and what you're able to bring. I want to go to a little more specificity about some of where Ryan what you were touching on in terms of what people can learn about their city through Longmont Public Media. If you want to learn more about fill in the blank, from the Gulf Committee to planning and zoning and everything in between, historic preservation, talk about that part of the work. You offer services to the city.
Correct.
Lay those out, what those are, and
Yeah.
what the city might ask of you in addition to what you stream.
Sure. Yeah, so as part of our contract, we operate this facility. We operate the 3 public access channels, so public access, education, government. We have to provide programming for those channels. We also provide up to 80 hours of videography services to the city of Longmont, however they want to use that. We also record and distribute and live stream Longmont City Council, Planning and Zoning, as well as all the 17 other boards and commissions. And then the rest is also, teaching classes and just, media education. So, and feel free to chime in. I think, yeah, a lot of it's been really interesting just working with a city. I think there's just obviously a lot of opportunities and I think possibilities for the city to leverage more media than they have in the past. I think I'm always interested about opportunities in ways to do that. Like for example, the council's having a budget conversation now. Is there a way to create maybe a bite-sized video that is digestible for people to understand, like, here's how we're spending our money and here's how it's being allocated.
Yeah.
So I always like to look to see, how can we figure that out? How can we leverage this with the city to disseminate and then inform, our community even better than what we're doing now.
Yeah, so pushing information.
Sure.
Is there a way to make this more top of mind, to promote this? I know kind of marketing, Ryan, is part of your job here. Is there a way to elevate a level of understanding in the general public of what's available when people want to know more, either about the city or what they've asked you to produce, as a particular program, right, around a particular theme? It's not recording a meeting, it's producing new content.
Right.
Is there thoughts about how to bring that to the attention of more potential viewers or consumers?
The biggest, I mean, honestly, the biggest thing that I have found on, like, when talking about this and talking about, like, we every time anything goes out, we make sure we put it, like, there's a post about it, we let people know. I'll put up reminders about, like, hey, this thing is happening, just like we put out that this show is coming out tonight. So there's letting people know about it. A lot of times, the only thing that really seems to even like really resonate is just for them to see it, like to see that this is here, that this is what's going on, and that this is like that there's like this is what's behind the wheel. The other part is getting it as many places at once, which is we really try and do, because it's not like because a lot of people aren't going to be tuning into cable. Plus, on top of cable, there's however many thousands of channels now.
There's tons of options.
And so to flip through and to land on Longmont Public Media and to know that's what this thing is, that's a hard one. But you can go on Roku and Vimeo and Amazon Fire and on our YouTube channel and find all of the content and have it readily available. And it's split up so that you can go, am I looking for our local government, on our city projects? It's all subdivided up for you so you can see all of it and then be readily accessible to see it.
So if people want to know more what the options are, what's available in terms of by show titles, I know they can go on the website, click on the backstory, and there's
Right.
just a whole collection of backstories, and they're scintillating. I don't know why people would want to watch all of them, but it's all fun storytelling. But all the shows that we've done, right? And then you've got programming for the local cable
Right.
channel, Channel 8, Channel 88, and the others, 16.
16, yep.
So there's lots there. As you're sharing, Ryan, I'm thinking the idea of seeing is believing, right? When I see those things there, then I'll take advantage. You flip that. We've also heard people talk about, I won't believe it, or I won't see it till I believe it, right? Seeing is believing. Or I won't see it until I believe it. And part of this, I think, is that people just don't believe because of what they've experienced in the past.
Sure.
They don't believe it's rich, that it's creative, that it's interesting, that it's empowering, and so they don't tune in. So hopefully we can break that, whatever the resistance is, that people both would see and believe and see, right, to get more viewers of what's going on here. And go ahead.
I was going to say, I think our first attempt at doing that was we had this crazy idea of doing a local dating show.
Oh yes.
So we called it Loco in Love, and I was the host.
Yeah.
But the thought was, can we do like a local date, something like you normally don't see, So Megan and Emily at the time, and myself, put together the show where we interviewed a local individual who was looking for love, and we thought, hey,
Would that be Shaquille?
it was Shaquille at the time. Yep.
Shaquille, love you.
And we said, why don't we interview him, and then maybe put it out there and see, can we help him find love in a maybe more tasteful kind of way.
Is he married yet?
Not yet, but he is dating someone now. So
that's great.
But anyway, yeah. So we recorded this, put this out there, and it generated a lot of interest, right? Like, oh, here's something that you normally don't see, but you can create here that again brings people together in a different way.
Yeah.
And to add on to that, so we're taking in February of next year, because we're going to take that idea, and like I said, it's seeing is believing. And so the hard part was getting people to sign up and to get dates, get a running thing, but we can get people in here if we drive them in for events and things like that. So in February, we're going to try and run it again in person and do it like a dating game style and get it. And we found, and actually one of our members comes all the way from Highlands Ranch to up here, and she has a crazy personality. She can run the show, get everyone involved, and make it. And so we're going to try a whole bunch of different things and then also at the same time put it up on the channels, promote it. And that way you've got, it's not just one aspect of just like putting it on the cable channel and hope someone sees it, or putting it on the socials and hope someone sees it. It'll be everyone, it'll be word of mouth, it'll be on the social channels, it'll be we're getting ready, we're doing build up, because we've been building up for a while, already on this idea. And like I said, not just us alone working on this. It's been working with different groups, like different other local organizations and groups to help promote it as well. I know Jay with Splash Bros, and then we've got AJ Fox with Silver Mesa Creative Solutions. Both have been out there promoting all of these things and getting out there and doing that thing. So these are all getting the local word out there with in different ways, and help, like, once again, all tying in community involvement. Not just, it's just a local channel and hopefully you'll get a tote bag next member drive.
Yeah, and also I want to note that a lot of our members and our amazing volunteers are also spreading the word about us. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan. Did a member bring you in?
Yes, Sarah Morrow, who she brought me, like I said, she needed help with her show. And
Proper tea time.
yes, proper tea time. And she needed help. And she, and like I said, she needed help with the show. And once like I said, when I saw the podcast studio, that's when I was like, I'm all in on this place. I want to do this. I want to get a membership. I want to learn all I can.
Well, you're going to have a chance to continue learning, because you just won an extension of your contract with the city. So you might want to talk about what that means to Longmont Public Media. What does it mean to you as the team, and what should it mean to the community in terms of opportunity and aspirations? Talk about that.
Yeah, so for those that are watching and don't know, so council voted 5-1 to increase our budget from 25% of franchise fees to 50%, which gives us about $304,000 of operating revenue for a 2-year contract, which I think that's the first time that I know that a city has increased funding for public access and for public media, which I think is a huge win. I think to answer your question about what that brings, I think it brings stability. I think it brings us more time to be able to flesh out this model. It helps us, I think also helps Longmont City Council and the city demonstrate to its community that they care about this place, they see the value of it and want the community to be a part of it. And kind of what you would expect to see over the next 2 years is just a lot more programming. We'll be able to have increased staff. We'll be able to, again, just improve, the space here already, even though it is, pretty well built out. Obviously, there's new technology every now and then, and just more stability. And I just want to say, obviously, thank you to council. I want to say thank you to all of our members and supporters who we really couldn't have done it without them. And again, that's what keeps this place alive. It's not us. It's people like Eric and Bob and all of our other members that create a lot of great content and teach and want to create. So yeah.
Well, if we think about it, the intent of public access back in the 1960s was this would be considered a public good, a benefit to the whole public, right?
Correct.
That's what was to happen with those franchise fees, managed really by municipalities.
Mm-hmm.
So in the context of public good and how we think about fire, protection, streets, utilities, all as public goods, those are goods in which we expect to see an investment because they benefit everybody. So if we put public access television into that frame, it is certainly a worthy investment on the part of this municipality, and it's fun to know that happened.
Yeah.
Now, we've been at this for a while, and we're gonna wrap this up because I just got the signal that I've just got a couple minutes left, and I do want to do some promotion of what's coming in October.
Yeah.
But is there anything I haven't asked that you'd like to answer? What do you wish I had asked? And if we covered it all, that's fine, but I just don't want to wrap it up without giving you a
I just want to say it's not just for people online. It's anyone. Like the next phases, it's getting everyone from colleges and schools and for anyone in the area to get involved, to come to this place, to let people know. That's the thing that people just don't know about this place. As soon as they know it, they love it. But just come, stop by. All of us are happy to give you tours. Come here, and I don't care if where you find this video, just come and stop by.
The last thing I'll say is we are kind of, we are reinventing public access. We're calling it Public Access 2.0 to include a lot more modern technologies like podcasting and live streaming, AR, VR. But we've already been seeing other cities are looking to Longmont to this model and seeing, hey, can we do the same thing in Philly or in another city in Colorado or school district in California? People are paying attention, and I think that's great that, if this place succeeds, it should proliferate, other cities to invest in public access and just create a better understanding of media across the U.S.
2 years from now, think about this. 2 years from now, when you've had this stable funding for the next 2 years, cities across America will be lining up to learn from your example, right? And you'll be able to take this to a different kind of scale as a public good.
Yeah.
Any questions you want to answer?
I think my highest hopes for this place will be the people that I'm teaching video production to now will pay that forward and continue to stay here and teach other people. I think that's how we'll be most successful.
Well, I'll just give that an amen and hope that's the benediction, right, to all this. So thanks again for everything you do day in and day out. I know you're here a lot of days and a lot of nights. So I appreciate it as you bring this to life in the community. And in the month of October, I hope you help me bring some things to light, as the backstory. We're going to do 3 backstories in the month of October. On October 9th, we're going to be in the museum with a live show. So Bob and Eric, Vince, we need volunteers. A live show in the museum, 3 o'clock in the afternoon on October 9th. We have an incredible panel of journalists. Chuck Plunkett, former managing editor of the Denver Post editorial page. Dana Caulfield, who was part of that team and a co-founder of the Colorado Sun. Maria Karagiannis, now a Longmonter and a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist from the Boston Globe. And Melissa Davis, who is the director of the Colorado Media Project. And the topic, it's labeled on the museum website as Media Matters. For the backstory purposes, it's the backstory on journalism, news, and accountability. Kind of where we've come from, where are we, and where we're headed. So if you care about that story, Longmonters, join me in that panel and a team of Longmont Public Media volunteers at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on October 9th. That's going to be followed on October 30th by a second in this 2-part series. Sergio, you'll be part of that, along with other entities and the leadership of those entities, Biff Warren, Macy May, others who are part of the local solution. As we see the decline of mainstream media, we don't have to be a news desert in Longmont. In fact, we won't, because of the local solutions that have come to life. One of those, we'll hear from the League of Women Voters and what they're doing with a really exciting project across the country to train citizens to be active observers of their public institutions in the interest of accountability. So Longmonters, if you're interested in those 2 shows, we're going to be in the museum at 3 o'clock on those Sunday afternoons. We're going to be back here on October 31st on Halloween night to share the story of Annie and Millie's Place, a new nonprofit in town with a powerful story to tell. So Longmonters, that's your backstory on Longmont Public Media. Join us in October for a whole series of backstories that hopefully will spark your interest. Thanks to you, and thanks for our volunteer team.
Thanks.